All right, today we are diving into something that, let's be honest, a lot of students know all too well: academic burnout. But we're also going to unpack some really powerful and maybe even surprising tools that can help you fight back. And these tools, they have less to do with studying harder and way more to do with what you truly believe.
You know that feeling, right? You're staring at a textbook, it's late, and the words just start to swim on the page. That spark you used to have for what you're studying, it feels like it's barely a flicker now. Well, that feeling, it's so much more than just being tired. It actually has a name, and just knowing what it is, that's the very first step to getting past it. So, here's the plan. First, we're going to define what academic burnout actually is. Then, we'll explore how faith can work as a kind of anchor. That leads us to a really fascinating discovery about the power of participation. From there, we'll zoom out to find meaning even beyond religion, and we'll wrap it all up with a pretty strong argument for philosophy in our schools.
Okay, let's get right into it. Because before we can even begin to talk about solutions, we have to get a handle on the problem itself. What exactly is this invisible weight that so many students feel like they're carrying around?
So researchers basically describe it as this perfect storm of exhaustion. We're talking physical, emotional, and mental. It's that cynical, what's the point of all this feeling, mixed with this nagging doubt that you can even do the work anymore. See, it's not just being tired, it's this deep, deep sense of being completely drained.
And the warning signs kind of pop up in two different ways. On one side, you've got the physical stuff that you might just brush off as stress. You know, the fatigue, the headaches, maybe even shortness of breath. But on the other side, and this is what can be really damaging, are the psychological effects. That totally frustrating feeling of working harder and harder but getting less done. The boredom, the confusion, and that just awful feeling of being useless.
So where does all this come from? Well, it's almost never just one thing. Research shows it's more like a slow burn from a bunch of different places. You've got the nonstop stress about grades, your social life, your future. You've got boring, repetitive ways of learning that just suck the passion right out of you. And of course, you've got this intense pressure from crazy high expectations and competition. All of that can get a whole lot worse with sudden changes, like, say, the massive shift to online learning we all just went through.
And look, we have to take this incredibly seriously. This is not just about feeling bad or having a tough semester. Studies have shown a direct connection between academic burnout and students seriously thinking about dropping out, and even, tragically, thinking about suicide. The stakes here are as high as you get. Okay, so that's the problem, and it's pretty heavy stuff. Let's shift gears and talk about solutions. When you feel like you're caught in this storm of stress, where do you find an anchor? Well, one place researchers have looked is faith. And there's actually a name for this. It's called positive religious coping. Yeah, this isn't just about going to services or rituals. Think of it more like a psychological strategy, a way to reframe the problems you're facing. It's about using your belief system to find meaning, to find comfort, and to see a way forward. Basically, turning your faith into a real source of strength. And this isn't just some nice theory. It has a real, measurable impact. Get this, a study of university students in Indonesia found that this kind of positive religious coping could actually account for a 17.2% drop in academic burnout. That is a huge deal, statistically speaking. It really shows that this is a powerful, powerful tool for building resilience.
Okay, so we see this works for one group, but does it apply to everyone? And maybe more importantly, does the specific faith you follow even matter? Well, a really fascinating study in the US decided to dig into that very question. The researchers really wanted to know, is there something special about one belief system that makes it better at fighting burnout than another? And what they found was pretty surprising. Here's the absolute key takeaway. The study found zero statistical link between what a student's religious label was, didn't matter if they were Christian, Muslim, Jewish, or even identified as atheist, and their level of burnout. But what did matter, and mattered a lot, was whether they saw themselves as an active participant in their belief system. The students who did, they had significantly lower burnout. And this quote from the research paper just nails it. It's not about the stuff you do on the outside, how many hours you spend at a service or what you read. The real protection is internal. It's that self-identification, that feeling that you are actively engaged with a system of meaning that matters to you.
Now, this is a total game changer of an insight. Why? Because it takes the conversation beyond any one religion. It suggests that it's the act of participating in a belief system that matters. And that opens up this powerful strategy for absolutely everyone, including the many, many people who don't consider themselves religious.
This is where we build the bridge. Because as one source points out, for people without a specific faith, having a personal philosophy of positive life meaning can give you the exact same kind of anchor.
It's all about having a framework to make sense of the struggle.
So what does that even look like? Well, you can boil it down to two incredibly simple but powerful ideas. First, the belief that life and all the challenges you face in it has some kind of inherent meaning. They're not just random events happening to you. And second, this deep conviction that no matter how tough things get, there is always a path forward.
So what do we do with all this? What does this mean? Not just for us as individuals, but for how we think about education as a whole. Let's just recap the three biggest takeaways here. 1. We have to acknowledge that academic burnout is a real, serious condition with clear symptoms. 2. The key to fighting it isn't a specific religious label, but that internal feeling of being an active participant in your belief system. And 3. Anyone can build this resilience. You just need an anchor. And that anchor can be your faith, or it can be a personal philosophy of positive meaning.
And all of this leads us to one final, pretty big question to think about. If having a solid philosophy of life is such a powerful defense against burnout, shouldn't our schools be doing more to help students build one? Should philosophy be a core part of how we teach mental resilience? Definitely something to chew on. Thanks so much for watching.